Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Assymetric. Thank you for stopping by. For today's tutorial, we'll be learning how to make the stylish asymmetric gathered gown. If it's something you're interested in, do well to keep watching. If you're yet to subscribe to the channel, please subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and let's get right into this. So to start off, you're going to be needing a plain crepe. I have this black, and then I have this other one which is 3 yards, and then my crepe I have 1 yard of that. Okay, so for the other one you're going to be needing 3 yards. Now to start, I've gone ahead to fold my fabric into four, and I left an allowance for my zip, as you can see on this. Okay, so I'm just trying to position my lighting as well so you can see. Now you're going to fold your fabric according to your hip circumference. That's your hip divided by 4 plus an additional 2 inches for now. Okay, and then ensure that you fold a little more so that you can have your zip allowance, since we're cutting directly on our fabric. Now I'll start off by making a mark at the starting line because my fabric isn't equal at the top. I'm going to mark this line, which will serve as my starting line, and also at the shoulder point. Now from that point, I'll go ahead and take the shoulder to the bust point, my shoulder to the waist, and then my shoulder to the hip. So now you're going to consider the length you want for your gown. So this gown is a full length gown. It flows to the floor. For me, I used a length of 65 inches. So for the top, that's for the half one, the black part of my gown, I'm going to be using a length of 30 inches. So from my hip point, I came down by 6 inches and I made the mark. So my shoulder to my hip is 24 plus 6, I have 30. That's what I'm using for mine. You can decide to make yours shorter, or you can make yours longer depending on how you want yours to come out. So I'm extending my line to the back part of my piece. Okay, just extending that line into the back part of my fabric so that I can go ahead later to mark my zip allowance. And I'm just going on to label the lines which I have marked. Take note of that. Now on our starting line, which is the shoulder line, we're going to go on and take our shoulder measurement, half of our shoulder measurement. So you can see where I'm placing my measurement. I'm placing it from the close end of my first fold, which is the front fold, and then after that I marked a neck width of 3 inches, and I came down by 1 inch for my shoulder slant. Now from the shoulder slant area, I'm marking my bust, my armhole depth, sorry, which is the bust measurement divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches, and I'm just making a vertical and a horizontal point. So I'm just trying to achieve my armhole curve. Now from the front armhole, I got the midpoint of my armhole depth. I went in by half of an inch, and then I'm going to mark quarter of my round bust on this horizontal line, and then I will just go ahead and connect the 3 points together. Now this is what we have for the front armhole. Now going on, we're going to mark our neck width and our other body measurement. So remember that we're marking both the front and the back together. So for the front neck depth, I'm using a neck depth of 4 inches. So you can use any style of whatever neck design you want to use for your gown. You can simply use that. It simply works. So also take note that we're adding a zip to the back of this gown. Okay, so you should ensure that your neck can pass through. You have the zipper to give you that access, and you can have a bit of freedom by the time you finish wearing it. So for the back neck depth, I'm using a neck depth of 1.5 inches, and I will just connect that also. I'm just using a simple round neck for this gown. So we have a neck depth for the front and also that of the back. Now we're going to go ahead and place our horizontal body measurement. So for this gown, I'll be adding a dart. You can definitely skip adding a dart. So to add the dart, go ahead and take your bust span and then divide that by 2 and just mark it down. So I'm marking this down at the bust point at the waist, and then I will also mark this at the hip point. Okay, so the lines we have there, I'm going to just mark that. For me, it is 3.5. I just mark 3.5 on these 3 points, and I'm connecting them together in a straight line. Like I said, you can definitely omit adding a dart to this. I just wanted to add this to the gown to give it an extra fitting. Now on the waist, go in and out on both sides of your dart line by half of an inch, and then from the hip go up by 3 inches, and then you go down from the bust point by 1 inch, and you go ahead and connect it just like I'm doing. So this is what we have for the dart. Now we can go ahead and place a horizontal measurement. So on my chest line, I'm going ahead to add 1.5 inches. 1 inch will be for my stitching, and then half inch will be for ease, because I don't want this to be too snugged around the body. And then around the waist, I'm going to take quarter of my round waist measurement. That intake I have there, which is 1 inch, and then my extra inch of 1.5 inches. So if you don't want yours to be free, you can just add your stitching allowance of 1 inch. 1 inch is okay for stitching it together. You go over to the hip, you're going to take quarter of your round hip, you're going to mark your stitching allowance, in this case 1.5 inch, like I said earlier, and then you go ahead and connect the 3 points which you have marked together. So after doing that, to get our full length, we're going to just extend what we have from the hip point to the full length. Okay, so you're going to take what you have around the hip, you also mark that at full length, and then you connect a straight line to join the both points together. So for now, we're not going to do the asymmetric design, we're going to do that later on. Okay, just keep watching this. Now for the zip area, to mark our zip, for the top of the back, I'm going to take 1 inch, that's around the neck area. Then I'll also take 1 inch at the bust area for my zip allowance, but then around the waist I'm going to take half of an inch. Okay, this is just to snatch in the waist area a little bit more, so that our zipper area isn't puffed out by the time we finish stitching our zip. And then from the hip, we're going to go back to taking 1 inch to the full length, and then you connect that. So while connecting, you will notice that you have a slanted line from the waist going to the hip area, and then from the waist going towards the top. So this is going to help us to eliminate that zipper bulge at the back. So consider the fact that we're not drafting this out on a pattern. If we're drafting this out on a pattern, we're going to like further snatch in the waist area in order to eliminate zipper bulge. Okay, so we have front and the back together. I'm just pinning them down so that it can be easier for me to cut out. So what I'll do now is to just go on with my scissors to cut. So now while cutting, I'm going to add half of an inch to the hem. This is going to serve as my joining allowance. Remember I said I added 6 inches extra from my hip point. So I added half of an inch to join my gathers to my piece later on. And I'm just going ahead to just take off the other parts which I will not be needing for this project. So while cutting the neckline, remember to cut the back and the front separately because of the difference. Now for the back armhole, we didn't mark this earlier on. You're just going to extend from the midpoint to your quarter of your round bust measurement. So the difference between the back armhole and the front armhole is the front armhole is half of an inch inwards than that of the front. So this will help the sleeve to sit properly. The sleeve in front will not be puffy. You're not going to have like folds around the armhole for your front piece. Okay, so this is while it's essential for you to take this. So this is the back armhole, and we have the back and we have the front. So just go ahead to just cut out the remaining parts of this. So we'll cut out the back armhole first, and then after that, we're going to take off the back and cut out the front. So you're going to cut them out separately. So ensure to cut them out separately so that you are not mistaken. Okay. And I went ahead to add half of an inch around the shoulder area. So what I'm doing now is to just mark, cut out my facing for this. I want to use a facing for this. You can use a bias if you choose to, but I think using a facing will actually give you a neater look instead of just piping your neckline with a bias. You can also use the fabric to pipe the neckline. It will also make it come out very nice. Okay, but I actually like using facings for my piece. So I'm just going ahead to cut out facing for the front piece and also for the back piece. Now we have our facings. So what we're going to do is to mark out our darts for both sides of the front. We only have on one side of the front, so you're going to mark on both sides of the front, and then you're also going to mark on the back, okay, at the back piece. So ensure to mark the wrong side of your fabric. Okay, so you're going to mark at to mark for the back piece of your to mark at the back part of your piece. You're just going to mark out that zipper allowance around the waist. So that's where I took the measurement. Then I'm going to take the length, okay, and then I'll make a mark, and then I'll take where I want this to end also. So you're just simply going to take the measurement just like you have in front, and then you go in and out on both sides of the waist by half of an inch, just like we did for the front. You connect that to the top, and you also connect that to the base. So it's important for you to mark out this dart, considering the fact that we added the dart for both the front and the back piece. Okay, so it's important for you to mark it out. You repeat the same thing on the other piece of the back, and then you go ahead and stitch down your darts. Okay, so just go ahead and stitch the dart on the four parts. So I've stitched it down, and I went ahead to give it a good press so that it is relaxed. Okay, so this is my back piece placed together. So you can see the difference we have around the waist area, where we took off half of an inch around the zip area, and this is what it looks like for the front. Okay, and I just went ahead to press it down. Now what I want to do is to turn my neckline with a facing. So we're going to turn this with a facing. I've already gone ahead to cut out my facing. I'm just going to reduce the length of my facing a little bit more because it's actually quite long. Now what I usually do is to turn the hem of my facing with a bias. You can use a matching bias if you have one, and then after that I will now turn the neckline with the facing. Okay, this helps me to create a neater facing by the time I finish. Now for the back, I will do the same thing. I'll turn the hem of my facing with a bias. After that, I'll go ahead and stitch. But while stitching for the back part, I've gone ahead to notch my zip allowance area at the neck area, which is 1 inch. You're going to stitch and then stop at that 1 inch area. Okay, that's because we're going to be fixing our zip to that later on. I'm going to show you what to do. So this is what the front looks like after I finish. You can see where I've turned my bias at the hem. So what I'm going to do next is just to take this to the ironing table and give this a really good press, and I will use my hemming gum to just hold the hem of my facing together. Okay, and then for the back, this is what it looks like. You can see the space where I left. I didn't stitch it all through like I said. So for the back, I'm not going to hem it down. I will just go ahead and press it. For now, we're not going to hem the back. We'll just go ahead and give it a good press so that it is relaxed. So this is what the front looks like. I've used my hemming gum to hold it down. So you want to double your hemming gum so that it doesn't go off later on. Like double it, triple it, put as much as you can so that it stays in place, and ensure to apply enough heat on it. And this is the back. I've actually given that a good press, but I didn't use my hemming gum. Remember I said I will not be hemming that yet. Okay, so this is what it looks like for both parts of the back. Now we want to start stitching our piece. What we're going to do is to place this right side to right side, the back piece to the front piece, and you go ahead and stitch the shoulders by half of an inch. So I've stitched it down. This is what it looks like. So what I'm going to do now is to align the zip area of my back. So I'm aligning the zip area on the wrong side, like where I would usually stitch this. Then I'm going to use my pins to hold them together. Okay, I will use my pins to hold them together from the starting of my zipper area to the ends. Just use your pins and then you hold it together. And then after that, I will just flip it to the front. And then I'm going to use my pins also to hold the sides of this piece. So just go ahead and use your pins and just hold them by the sides together. So you're doing the second pinning on the right side of your fabric. I'm just going to just place them properly and then pin them so that they're stationed properly. So now we want to create our asymmetric design for this. Okay, since we didn't draft this on a pattern, we're going to do this now. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is to take the measurement from your shoulder to the hip point. You want to determine where you want to be longer and where you want to be shorter. Either you want the longer part on the right side or you want it on the left side. Okay, so just decide. You can place your fabric on your body to decide which part you want to be on which side. Okay, so for me, I want the left side to be longer, while the right side, I want it to be shorter. So the right side will be longer while the left side will be short. The left side will be longer while the right side will be shorter. Okay, I hope I'm not getting you confused. So what I'm going to do is that after marking where my hip point, from that hip point now, I'm just going to mark half of an inch from the hip point. So you just ensure that the hip you mark on the right side is aligning with what you marked on the left side. So they should be on the same frequency, on the same line. Ensure that one is no longer than the other so that this comes out looking nice. So from the hip on the right side, I went down by half of an inch. That will simply be for my stitching allowance. Then while on the left side, what I want there is 6.5 inches. Remember, I added half of an inch for joining. Okay, so I just went ahead to just mark that. So now what I'm going to do is to use my curve rule to create a curve coming from this other end, which is the long side, to the other part, which is the short side. So like I said, you can actually change this, like use the right side for the longer part and then use the left side for the shorter part. Whatever works for you, you can simply just do that. Okay, but me, I'm using the left for the longer side and then the right for the shorter side, as you can see right now. So you're going to curve that out, create the kind of curve you want there, and then after that just go ahead and cut it out, because you will not be needing this part. I'm just taking off my pins from this piece. So this is what we have for it. So if you want it to go higher, say from your waist to the hip, you can create that. It's going to give you a defined curve around that area. So now I'm just taking off my pins. I'm going to take this back to the wrong side. What we're going to do now is to align this right side to right side. We're going to be stitching down the sides by 1 inch. Remember, we added 1 inch for our stitching allowance. So just go ahead and stitch it down by 1 inch on both sides. So this is what it looks like after I finish stitching. You can see how it looks like. So we're yet to fix the zip. The zip is going to come in later on. Now the next thing we want to work on is the gathers for this piece. Now to do this, go ahead and take what you have around the hem right here. So take it from the starting to the ending. You want to be careful while taking this. So after finishing taking mine, I got 43 inches. Now this 43 inches, depending on the volume of gathers you want for your dress, you can multiply by 2.5, you can multiply by 3, by 3.5, by 4, by 4.5, by 5, as much as you want the volume of your gathers to be. So for me, I multiplied mine by 4. That was why I used 3 yards of fabric, because I really wanted the volume of my gathers to be prominent. So this is what I have here after cutting out on my fabric. And on one side, I went ahead to just fold the ends of one side. Okay, that's to hem the ends of one side. So I also went ahead to get the midpoint of what I have here. So you want to be careful. Now remember I said the length of this dress, what I want for mine was 65. So 30 at the top, it means what I cut out for the length of the gathers was 35 inches, and then I added half inch to joining the gathers to the top, and then 1.5 inches to hemming at the base, making it a total of 37. That's what I cut out for my length, and the width I multiplied by 4. Now I'm taking the midpoint of where I marked for my piece, this fabric, and I'm aligning it to the midpoint of my crepe piece. That's the plain piece. I'm aligning them together. You're going to place them right side to right side, and then I'll pin it down. So you can actually go ahead and create a gather stitch from your machine before, and then attach this to the, but I actually like doing a manual gathers for this kind of dress. It gives it a very nice finishing. So from the end I'll just stitch 1 inch plain, and then I'll also stitch 1 inch plain on this other side, and then go ahead and just gather the rest. So this is what I have after I finish doing that. You can see how defined this pleats are on this. So if you want to gather this with your machine first before attaching to your piece, you can absolutely do that, but I actually prefer gathering my piece this way. So the next thing I'm going to do is just to align the zip area. Now we're aligning this on the wrong side of your fabric, and then I'm going ahead to pin it down. I'll pin it down to the end so that I can keep that in place. We want to work on our zipper area, which is the part we have open right now. So you're going to pin that to the end. So while pinning, now to make your dress to look more appealing, ensure that where you have the joining, where you joined your gathers to your black piece, it is aligning to the other side, that they are on the same line. One is no longer than the other. And then you go ahead and take the measurement for where you want your zip to end. You can use your zip, okay, use your zip to take that measurement. Okay, I think using your zip to take that measurement is better, so that you know what parts will be left out for you. So after doing that, okay, this is what I have. I'll go ahead and stitch from this point to the full length by 1 inch. So I've stitched it down. This is what I have. Like I said, ensure that the place where you have your joining is aligning so that it comes out looking better. Now go ahead and just stitch my zip. So ensure to take out that facing area you have for now. We're going to be working on that. I'll show you how to get a perfect closing around the neck area without having to stitch. So after doing that, I've stitched the zipper. Now I'm going to be aligning this to this. Okay, so what you're going to do is to place your facing on top of it, and then you stitch that open part where you didn't stitch before. So this is what I'm talking about. You're going to just place this way, and then you stitch it down. After that, you are going to stitch very close to where you have your first stitch, about half of an inch from where you have your first stitching, where you stitch the zip to the main piece. You're going to also stitch your facing. That means you're stitching 3 of them together with your zip sandwiched in between them together. So this is what I have after I finished doing for both of them. So now I'll just take out the excess I have at the top. Then after that, I can just take off, push out this other end. So when you do your zip this way, you will notice that you don't have to stitch on top of your fabric. It's going to come out looking nice and clean and perfect. So this is what I have for the zip. You can see how the neckline looks like. It has no stitching around that area. Okay, that was what I was trying to achieve. So now the next thing for our dress is the sleeve. So this dress, you can decide to not add a sleeve to this. If you don't want to add the sleeve to this, you can go ahead and just pipe the armhole. But for me, I'm using a basic sleeve for this. I've gone ahead to cut out my sleeve. I've stitched it together. So I'll just go ahead and just stitch to the opening around the armhole. So this is the final look of the dress. This is what it looks like. Simple and nice, right? Let me know in the comment section if you found this video helpful. If you have any questions, also let me know. I'll do well to answer them. If you're yet to subscribe to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. If you're watching this video to this point and you've not liked it, Please like it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.